Tonight, twists and turns in the Iran soccer team asylum drama. More women choose to stay, then one changes her mind, sparking a security scare. Iran pummeled in the most intense strike since the war began as Australia closes its embassy in Israel. Also tonight, exam meltdown. An outage halts NAPLAN tests for students across the country. More babies and more barbecues, the new national leader's vision for Australia. And horrific smash and roll at Chester Hill, the former police officer allegedly drunk at the wheel. Plus huge changes coming to Vivid and the return of a fan favourite show. And we hear from the Tigers teen star who's already doing his own photo shoots.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. A defection, a backflip and a security breach. There are new twists tonight in the Iranian soccer team asylum saga. One player who originally wanted to stay in Australia now plans to return home despite fears of severe retribution. That last-minute about-face exposing her teammate's secret safe house to the Iranian embassy, forcing our government to intervene.
5 becomes 7 as another player and a staffer from the Iranian women's soccer team seek asylum in Australia. But it's now back to 6. All smiles last night, but player Mohadessa Zolfi today had a sudden change of heart.
One of the two who had made the decision to stay last night had spoken to some of the teammates who had left and had changed her mind.
An about-face which has caused a major security risk as the 21-year-old contacted the Iranian embassy and gave up their secret location in Brisbane.
The Iranian embassy now knew the location of where everybody was. I immediately gave the instruction for people to be moved.
The other members of the squad who chose to leave have arrived in Kuala Lumpur. Their departure from Australia, a huge security operation and an emotional ride for supporters who fear the worst once they're back in Iran.
Because I'm a woman and I know what's going to happen to these girls, they were facing that penalty.
And before they boarded the flight out of Sydney, there was one final offer to stay as they passed through immigration.
They were given a chance, taken into interview rooms without any minders present, and they were given a choice.
And there was trepidation, just like yesterday when one of the players had to be led onto the bus. A team member balked getting on the plane. Sydney Morning Herald reporter Amber Schiltz witnessed the drama.
She walked away with officers to have a final conversation with her family to help her make her decision, but ultimately decided to come on the flight and walked on the flight in tears and was embraced by her teammates.
And when they made it to Malaysia, the Iranian regime was watching.
The women were met right as they exited the plane by the Iranian ambassador to Malaysia. So immediately there was that sense of being escorted, maybe being surveilled.
On Iranian state television, Australia is the one being accused of holding the players hostage.
So tonight, travel arrangements are being made for the player who wanted to defect but now wants to go home. What prompted her change of heart is unclear.
Supporters can only speculate. Her family has been threatened.
It was so sad because, you don't understand, you're living in a free country, right?
Damien Ryan, 9 News.
The United States has obliterated a number of Iranian Navy vessels after reports the country was laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. It comes as America unleashed what the White House is calling the most intense day of strikes since the war began.
Flashes of destruction, Iranian Navy vessels under US attack. Among the hits, 16 mine-laying boats near the Strait of Hormuz. There had been reports Iran had started to place the explosive devices in the all-but-closed shipping channel, which is currently considered a death trap.
If they do anything to stop the flow of oil or goods within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the world's most powerful military 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far.
On land, Iran was pounded in what's been labelled the most intense day of strikes so far.
The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes.
The first wave hitting Tehran before dawn. The Iranian Red Crescent's rescue teams searching through the skeletons of buildings looking for survivors well into the night. The Pentagon releasing this map of its strikes over the last 10 days. Iranian air missile defence sites magnets for American missiles, but it's come at a cost, officials confirming around 140 US troops have been injured in the conflict, 7 have been killed. A senior Iranian security official warning the US president, be careful not to get eliminated yourself. The IDF carrying out its own surge of attacks on Iran and in Lebanon. Israel's Air Force has rocked Beirut's southern suburbs. It says it's targeting Hezbollah infrastructure. But despite claims Iran's launch capacity is down to 10%, the strikes from Tehran continue. A CNN news program in Tel Aviv evacuating while on air.
This is very dangerous.
For millions of Israelis, it's in shelters like this one in Tel Aviv that they're forced to take refuge. The air raid siren ringing out more than 100 times across the capital since strikes began.
A tent city now set up underground in car parks and subways, the hum of everyday life mixing with sirens. My patience is going down day by day, 94-year-old Rivka says. A normal they don't want to accept.
I get trying to focus on the good, but we can't let it blind us from reality.
In Israel, Mimi Becker, 9 News.
And Mimi joins me now from Tel Aviv. Mimi, the Australian Embassy office there has closed its doors.
Pete, the government says due to heightened security concerns, the embassy's been forced to close, but consular officials remain on the ground in Israel and able to assist. Embassies have also been shut now in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. It is a sign of instability across the region as Iran says it's launched its most intense strikes yet. Overnight in Tel Aviv, there were 4 missile alerts, while the night before there were none. Tehran certainly ramping up its attacks. Pete?
Mimi, thank you. The consumer watchdog is taking urgent action to ensure service stations aren't taking advantage of the conflict to inflate petrol prices. Let's go to Madison Scott in Camaray, where the price of unleaded is sitting at $2.30. Maddie, the fuel companies are now well and truly on notice.
Pete, the ACCC is calling an emergency meeting with retailers. The recent price hikes will be put under the microscope and any deceptive behaviour will be investigated. Now, the price for unleaded right now is ranging from just under $2 to $2.30, like the likes of here at Camaray. But we are seeing further west in Armidale up to $3.38 for unleaded a litre. Now, to increase transparency, the watchdog will be doing a weekly market update, and the ACCC will also be exploring ways to help with diesel distribution in regional areas, because from farmers, Pete, to motorists, this fuel crisis is affecting all corners of our country.
Maddie, thank you. The first results of today's NAPLAN tests are already in. A massive fail after a nationwide online system outage this morning. More than 1 million students were left in limbo, with education officials still scrambling tonight for answers.
Test time, but on day one of NAPLAN, confusion in our classrooms wasn't caused by tough questions.
Mine says 41 minutes, and I can see that some others say like 1 hour.
Laptops alerting students to a national server crash as years 5, 7 and 9 tried to log on for their writing assessment.
It's not just our school, it's lots of schools are having a problem.
And by 9:30 Eastern Daylight Savings Time, principals were sent urgent text messages. If your school is affected, pause testing. ACARA, the independent body in charge, pulling the plug as techs scrambled to reboot.
This has caused disruptions in a significant number of schools, and for that we apologise unreservedly.
I just think it's disappointing. The children were kind of ready to go.
1.4 million students were due to start the exams today, impacts varying across time zones.
Some of them have been able to pause and restart, some of them were able to continue and finish. We don't know the numbers of those, and some of them have had to log in again and start from now.
The log-on load is being blamed.
Congestion caused the problem. It is absolutely possible to test for high demand and high load.
The glitch took 2 hours to resolve and schools were able to resume testing. The concern now turns to one of fairness in how the papers are assessed.
Some students will have seen the prompt, so there'll be issues in relation to that.
Should we go back to pen and paper? The online testing is the thing we need to do now because of the speed.
With challenges now over whether NAPLAN should be taking place at all.
Mass testing doesn't work. Our education results aren't improving.
Despite the drama, when the school bell sounded this afternoon, there were smiles.
It was pretty fun, and we was going to do our reading, but we didn't eventually do it, so we'll do it on a different day.
How do you feel about it?
Good.
And that was all that mattered to mums and dads. Liz Daniels, 9 News.
A married couple from the UK has drowned at an unpatrolled beach in Shell Harbour. The pair in their 60s were pulled from the water just after 11 o'clock this morning and were unable to be revived. A third man has been charged over an alleged underworld shooting in Casula. The home was sprayed with more than 50 rounds of ammunition by a semi-automatic weapon in November last year. Police arresting a 25-year-old man in Bradbury yesterday morning who was allegedly driving a second vehicle following the shooting. An extraordinary admission from the Minister for Families today. Kate Washington admitting her department knew a convicted triple murderer was living in a Western Sydney home with 2 foster children, but did nothing about it. The alarm was raised about Regina Arthurall 4 months ago, convicted when she was living as Reg. But the issue has only been addressed this week when the media became aware of it.
The department was made aware of the situation in late December, and some very poor decisions were made at that time. And I wish I could turn back the clock, but I can't.
The Minister has apologised and initiated a department review. Matt Canavan is tonight the new National Party leader, following David Littleproud's shock resignation late yesterday. The outspoken Queensland Senator brings with him a fierce opposition to net zero and staunch social conservatism.
An early morning strike and a sign of things to come for Matt Canavan.
Main thing I thought this morning is as long as I score in the party room.
A few hours and a thumbs up to the cameras later, the Queenslander had another win.
I would like to announce that Matt Canavan is the new leader.
We need to have more Australian everything. We need to manifest a hyper Australia here. We need to go hyper Australia for our country. We need more Australian babies. We need more Australian humour, more Australian jokes. We need more Australian barbecues, sometimes often fuelled by fossil fuels.
The 45-year-old was a minister under Malcolm Turnbull and Scott Morrison. He describes himself as pro-coal, pro-business and anti-woke. Victorian Darren Chester, elected deputy.
You might not agree with everything I say, but you know where I stand.
No doubting where the man he's replacing stands.
I feel $1 million, mate. Best I've slept in 9 months. A bottle of red might have helped that.
David Littleproud seemingly bouncing out of the party room as the new team took over. Senator Canavan will stay in the upper house for now, setting up a showdown with Pauline Hanson, while the former National and Matt Canavan's former boss is now a future foe.
I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be fun for all of us.
And I struggle to point to a single dam, single road, single hospital that Pauline has delivered.
Do you think he'll work with you?
Why wouldn't he? He's crossed the floor many a time to support One Nation and our policy spot put on for a parliament, so it'll be good.
One Nation and the Nationals will duke it out, but they won't be alone. One-time MP Clive Palmer says he'll contest the next election.
As a wise man once said, governments may rise and fall, but ideas go on forever.
And some seem to never die. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Conviction is a hot commodity in politics right now, and Matt Canavan has it in spades. This is the Nationals making a direct play to the voters that have abandoned them for One Nation, and will likely come at the expense of urban Liberals trying to win city seats back from the Teals. Matt Canavan wields a large and enthusiastic group of supporters online, but the comments there won't always agree with the coalition here, and that may prove a big test. In the coalition, Nationals leaders can be doormats or matadors. Angus Taylor is getting the latter.
Charles, thank you. Diners at a Chatswood cafe got more than they paid for today when a school bus slowly reversed through the front of the shop. The bus, which was returning students from a school excursion, was performing a tight turn around 2 this afternoon before backing into a table and smashing the glassware. No one was injured. A police car has smashed into a telegraph pole during a pursuit through Sydney's southwest overnight. Officers attempted to stop a stolen black Sherry SUV on Stanley Street in Bankstown before the driver fled. The patrol car hit a pole on Punchbowl Road before the Sherry was found nearby on Yarran Street after colliding with a parked car. The vehicle had since been abandoned, with the driver yet to be located. A driver has avoided jail after deliberately slamming into two teenagers on an e-bike in revenge for a knock and run prank. Kingston Zhao chased the 14-year-olds down at Queen's Park, leaving them bloodied and bruised last year. The 29-year-old was today sentenced to 100 hours of community service and has lost his licence for 12 months. The countdown is officially on for what's set to be our biggest Vivid festival yet. This year's display will include more than just lights, with famous chefs, musicians and a relaunch of its iconic drone show.
It's that time of year where our harbour city quite literally shines. Vivid's sparkling explosion of lights and colours back on our calendars, and the program for 2026 has been unveiled.
Vivid Sydney 2026 will be bigger and more ambitious than ever.
For the first time ever, the festival will now include a number of showcases during the day.
These daytime interventions will give locals and tourists an array of works to be enjoyed from 9 a.m. during any visit to Circular Quay.
This year, the iconic light walk will focus mainly on the harbour front, with a shorter route which runs for 6.5 kilometres. From our harbour bridge through Circular Quay, the Rocks to Barangaroo and Darling Harbour, with extra venues in the CBD. Foodies will be treated to a unique dining event at Barangaroo, headlined by UK chef Yotam Ottolenghi. Also back and bigger than ever before, the drone show with 22 performances over 11 days. The drone event was cancelled in 2025 because of crowd safety issues, but organisers are adamant that won't be a problem this year by moving it here to Darling Harbour and putting on more shows.
We've collaborated with police, emergency services, and we're all working together to make sure that we're capable of managing it.
2.5 million people attended Vivid in 2025. This year, they're expecting around 3 million.
Every year we experience growth in Vivid Sydney, and there's always something new to present.
The festival will run from the 22nd of May. Massilia Eiley, 9 News.
All right, let's get our first check of the day's weather. Good evening, Kate.
Hello, Pete. After some wet and cloudy days, wasn't it nice to see the sunshine and beautiful blue skies today? Temperatures warmer than average, the city reaching 28.3 degrees, while in our west it climbed to 34, which is about 6 degrees above the March average. We saw northwesterly winds whip up across the Alps this afternoon, with gusts of up to 117 kilometres an hour recorded at Thredbo. That's been caused by a trough ahead of a cold front, which is heading our way. I'll let you know when we'll feel that change here in Sydney after sport, Pete.
Thank you, Kate. In the news ahead, crash chaos near a school at Chester Hill. A former police officer allegedly drunk at the wheel. Shark scare at Balmoral Beach. Not one but two sharks inside the enclosed baths. How did they get through the net? The Jeffrey Epstein case takes an even darker turn. Why police are searching his former US ranch. Plus, a little later, calm crocodile, the world first treatment at Eastern Creek. Balmoral Beach has been closed after two sharks were reportedly sighted inside the netted area. Council divers were called in to inspect the area, but with the water too murky, it's not yet clear if there were any holes in the netting. Warning signs were put up earlier to warn swimmers. A former New South Wales police officer is tonight facing serious charges over an alleged drunken crash at Chester Hill. Footage emerging today of the shocking moment the car loses control and smashes into 4 parked cars.
Thousands of dollars of destruction in a matter of seconds. A blue ute hits a parked car and flips down the street, collecting more on its way. 4 parked cars totaled outside a school just after 5 o'clock Monday evening.
He went all the way down there. Look what he did.
The apprentice electrician who owns this car now unable to get to work.
It's terrible. It's unbelievable. The speed is, I think, 50 or 60 here. I'm not sure, but It's unbelievable. You showed me the footage. It's crazy.
Cars belonging to two of Susan Al-Safadi's children destroyed.
If you're not thinking about yourself, think about others.
Police allege this is the driver, 47-year-old Satjot Singh, a former police officer. He's been charged with high-range drink driving, allegedly blowing .162, 3 times over the limit. His licence has been suspended. Residents here on Campbell Hill Road have told 9 News this stretch is normally packed full of young children playing after school and into the evening. They say it's incredibly lucky none of them were in the path of the out-of-control driver.
It would have been a disaster.
The school's crossing guard agrees.
That's disgusting. That's no good. They're always in a hurry.
Singh will be in Bankstown Court next month. Bailey Kenzie, 9 News.
A manhunt is underway for 2 people who opened fire on the US consulate building in Toronto. Canadian police say no one was injured and are treating the incident as a national security incident. It took half an hour for the shooting to be reported, with people inside the heavily fortified building likely unable to hear the gunfire. One of Jeffrey Epstein's properties is being searched following allegations it was used to bury the bodies of young women. While the claims have never been verified, an investigation into the secluded New Mexico ranch was reopened following the recent release of the Epstein files. Purchased by the late paedophile in 1993, the property features a hilltop mansion and private runway. Still ahead in 9 News, a water pistol and a TikTok craze. The warning from authorities after heavily armed police were forced to lock down Campbelltown TAFE. Katy Perry versus Katy Perry, a decision in the epic legal battle between the Sydney fashion designer and the global music star. Keeping the Australian dream alive, the home building blitz from Box Hill to Oran Park and the areas lagging behind.
And in a veterinary world first, a 4-metre salty willingly lines up to give blood.
Revelations tonight. A TikTok trend was the source of a major security scare that saw heavily armed police swarm Campbelltown TAFE. 000 was alerted when a 16-year-old girl walked through the southwest Sydney campus with a water pistol.
Campbelltown TAFE in lockdown, heavily armed police at each door. This was yesterday afternoon at the Narellan Road campus. Staff and students using desks for cover as news of a possible active shooter spread.
My wife's barricaded in her classroom and they're all under the table, so there's something going on there.
It was just before 4:30 when someone armed with what looked like a gun was spotted. The riot squad called in the police chopper overhead, nervous parents stuck on the other side of a roadblock.
Got a text from my son saying there's an active shooter on the premises.
What many feared was a shooter on the loose, turning out to be a 16-year-old girl with a water pistol playing a viral game.
Welcome to Senior Assassin!
Senior Assassin is genuinely that serious.
Police, armed with real guns, certainly taking it seriously.
We had every available resource at the Campbelltown TAFE.
2.5 hours later, they gave the all clear and scared teens were back in their parents' arms. The 16-year-old isn't facing criminal charges, but the police minister has this warning for others.
People need to understand the consequences when they are carrying something that looks like a gun around.
Helene Lambetsos, 9 News.
Sydney fashion designer Katy Perry has won an almost 2-decade legal fight against the global pop star who goes by the same name. Our Katy Perry took the trademark case all the way to the High Court, which today ruled in her favour. Now going by the name of Katie Taylor, the business owner says it was never just about a name, but standing up for small business in Australia. A check-up of our state's hospitals is diagnosing the need for more beds. New figures revealing the number of patients waiting to access aged care or NDIS support after completing their treatment has jumped dramatically in the last 3 years, doubling at Westmead Hospital and tripling at Liverpool. A task force has been established to investigate the bed block. On a positive note, the number of patients spending longer than recommended in emergency departments or waiting for surgery is lower compared with 2022 figures. Patients with life-threatening conditions are being seen much more quickly, especially in Sydney's west and southwest. Sydney's west is right now home to a housing boom, the northwest in particular, expanding at rapid-fire pace. But as developers capitalise on state rezoning and families race to upsize, the surge in growth has exposed a new issue. Critical infrastructure just can't keep up.
Off the plan and now a reality. Street after street in Sydney's northwest lined with brand new homes.
It's a bit of the remaining Aussie dream, so to speak.
Greater Western Sydney is really doing a lot of heavy lifting in boosting housing supply.
Almost 36,000 new homes and units given the green light in the past year alone. More than half of those in Western Sydney, many bought by young families.
So they're looking for the additional space, and because of the scarcity of land in all the Sydney areas, they're extremely popular.
It's very spacious for our little family. So yeah, we just love the place.
Thousands of new dwellings were approved across Greater Sydney in 2025. Baulkham Hills and the Hawkesbury regions, including Kellyville, Box Hill, Riverston, Norwest and Castle Hill, had the biggest increase in approvals, up 102%. Southwest Sydney had the largest number of builds given the green light with 4,550, while Parramatta had around 3,700 homes approved. That's fewer than the year before. New apartment complexes not as lucrative as they once were for developers, or while the state government continues to push high-density living.
And the feasibility costs we're hearing around high-density development, it's just getting harder and harder to get the construction costs to stack up.
With so many new homes being built in the northwest, the Hills Shire Mayor is warning the population is growing faster than the necessary infrastructure.
Things like roads and sporting fields and parks and traffic lights. And right now in Box Hill, they're the forgotten residents.
Transport for New South Wales says it has boosted bus services around Box Hill and is investigating options to reduce congestion on Old Windsor Road. But Council says for everything else, it's expected to foot the bill with another 50,000 residents yet to move in.
We would have to increase the rates of Box Hill residents by 450%, meaning their rates would go from about $1,200 to almost $5,000. It's not fair, it's not right. We will not do that to those residents.
Hayley Francis, 9 News.
A blow for Racing New South Wales and boss Peter V'landys today, with a court finding the state's racing regulator overstepped its powers when it tried to sack the board of the Australian Turf Club. The ATC took legal action after an administrator was appointed late last year. That move today ruled as invalid.
We, as the Australian Turf Club, feel vindicated, and I think most of the racing industry will also welcome this decision.
Racing New South Wales is considering an appeal. In a world first, handlers at Sydney Zoo have trained a saltwater crocodile to give blood. Experts say the calm croc offers a unique insight into what's often a misunderstood creature.
This is the traditional doctor-patient relationship when the patient is a crocodile. Elvis, the Australian Reptile Park's king of crocs, visiting the dentist. The dental technician's also known as a jump team. But Sydney Zoo at Bungarraby believes it has taught its big fella Umbunguri a croc world first. How to lie quietly while having his blood taken.
He picked it up faster than any other blood drawer I've trained with an animal.
That surprised you?
Yes, absolutely.
Now why?
I just wasn't expecting it to be that quick.
A calm croc means a greatly reduced chance of what medicos call white coat fever. Higher readings on elements such as blood pressure because you're at the docks. In the croc blood drawing world, this is the crooked arm waiting for the test?
It is. It was all about initially just getting him used to just touch around those areas. When we first start, we use a thinner needle and then make our way up to the proper needle that we'll need for the blood draw, which is going to give us the best possible baseline blood for a crocodile. So to our knowledge, that hasn't really ever been done before.
The zoo team less than a year into their research, but planning to draft a scientific paper on their work once they have more Umbunguri data, as long as Umbunguri continues getting positive reinforcement. And that positive reinforcement is a bachelor's handbag over the fence?
Exactly.
Mike Dalton. 9 News.
Ahead in 9 News, the big banks now tipping a rate hike next week. Also, flight fallout from the Iran war. Effie Zahos on the best time to book a trip and what your insurance will cover. The healing properties of seaweed, how it could stop gastro in its tracks. Those stories after sport with James. Tonight we hear from a young tiger on his way to stardom.
Good evening to you, Pete. Yes, Hamasi Makasani is about to play his second NRL game, but he's already got a memorable highlight reel. Today we caught up with the teen tiger at his own photo shoot and talked to him about his rapid rise. Premiership coach Michael Maguire hits back at his critics who have their knives out after just one game. Plus Braden Trindle's promise to fans after the Sharks' dominant round 1 win.
And enjoy the warm weather. A cool southerly change is on the way. I'll let you know when it will arrive shortly.
The groundbreaking new treatment for heart patients.
Back to what I was in my 20s.
I did a double take. You look completely different.
Saving lives when hope was lost.
Something that seemed irreversible was turned around.
A world first right here in Australia.
9 News, your news, tomorrow at 6.
Well, not many teen league stars get to do their own fashion shoot, but Hamasi Makasini is not your average 18-year-old. The young tiger shot to prominence when he trampled Dylan Edwards on his way to scoring in a trial match, and tonight we hear from him for the first time.
He's one of the hottest young stars in the NRL. Today, the Tigers rookie was stepping out in the world of high fashion.
You're the man. Superstar of the NRL.
Joe Farage was giving Hamasi an education in his area of expertise.
Double-breasted's trending right now, but without fail, it's an old school, classic, traditional tailoring thing.
At 18, Hamasi is on a steep climb. He might be going through an off-field transformation, but right now, he's still trying to get his head around scoring an old-school winger's try that left the league world in raptures.
Obviously, I was kind of flabbergasted at the start because I'm obviously watching those type of players on the TV growing up, and being able to do that, that was kind of special.
Bumping off Dylan Edwards is something only the best can do.
Did any of the Penrith boys say anything after you scored that?
Oh, yeah, Dylan Edwards gave me a word. He just told me just not to do that again.
The try brought comparisons to the great Eric Groth, but the 18-year-old from Newington College has other heroes.
Probably Israel Folau, Greg Inglis. Yeah, I grew up watching them, trying to base my game off them as well. So, yeah, they were probably the main two players that I grew up watching.
Hamasi had the chance to follow Folau into rugby, representing Australia at under-18 level.
Robbie Deans, at that time, he was a coach for the Panasonic World Knights. He flew down from Japan and, had a meeting with my family, and my love for rugby league just stood over that.
Now he's ready to make his own mark, and Benji Marshall's new hardline approach has him primed.
He set us standards at the start of the year, and yeah, it's just something for us boys to take in and to have a better 2026 season this year. It should be a special one.
Danny Weidler, 9 News.
Michael Maguire has snapped back at suggestions his methods have again divided the Broncos playing group. The premiership winning coach under the pump just 5 months on from ending Brisbane's 19-year title drought.
One round into a new season and the coach of the reigning premiers appears under pressure. Not that Michael Maguire would know it.
Has it been over the top? I don't know, Pete, because I don't pay too much attention to it. Pete, I don't pay too much attention, mate. I don't pay too much attention, Pete.
The veteran leader has seen off several storms throughout his roller coaster career.
As coaches, yeah, everyone wears that at some stage. Everyone's got an opinion, and yeah, they all have their commentary. I don't tend to pay too much attention, but look, that's their job.
Madge with a blunt message to his critics who suggested a pre-season training session in Toowoomba divided the group.
Well, they should come to train and have a look. Simple as that.
The coach reminding his players it's time to move on from their 2025 triumph after their pointless first-round loss against the Panthers.
This is a new season, so what's done is done, and you've got to move towards what's ahead of us.
Braden Trindle was at his best in the Sharks' smashing of the Titans.
It's just round one, and we're only just getting the year started.
The playmaker warning rivals his combination with Nico Hines will only get better.
It's been a couple of years in building and that, and I think it's just going to get better and better.
The pain of losing last year's prelim final against the Storm motivating Tricky to produce magic in 2026.
Getting so close to that grand final, and just not wanting to let the boys down, coming back in, not good conditions. So I think just, wanting to be a part of something bigger.
Zach Bailey, 9 News.
Waratahs coach Dan McKellar believes Joseph Swali's 6 to 8 week hamstring injury layoff could actually help the superstar as he continues to learn the game.
There's always a silver lining. He can work on other areas of his game to make sure that he comes back, hopefully in 6 weeks, in really good shape.
McKellar has made 6 changes to his side for Saturday's match with the Reds. Journeyman fly half Jack Debrasini will make his first start for the Tars. Having missed the chance to stay in Sydney, the Matildas are now on the other side of the country in Perth, preparing for what's expected to be a spiteful Asian Cup quarter-final against North Korea.
Obviously they're quite strong physically and that's part of their game, and I would say that most Australians and anyone who watches the Matildas know that we are also fantastic physically.
Australia beat the North Koreans in the 2010 final to claim their sole Asian Cup crown. And there's a new name in the NBA's history books. Miami's Bam Adebayo posting a remarkable 83 points in the Heat's 150 to 129 win over the Wizards today, the second highest total the league has seen. It sits just ahead of legendary Kobe Bryant and only behind the great Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. Something certainly worth celebrating. Pete, see you tomorrow night.
Looking forward to it already. Thank you, James. In the news ahead, the chances of a rate hike next week increasing. The activewear brand's huge fine for spamming customers. With disruptions and rising fares, Effie's Arhos breaks down when to book if you're hoping to travel. Plus how Seaweed might be able to block the dreaded stomach bug. Economists are changing their forecasts with a rate hike next Tuesday now looking increasingly likely. Here's our finance editor, Chris Kohler.
When the total national mortgage debt is $2.4 trillion, changes to official interest rates matter a lot. And today, Westpac said it expects the RBA to hike rates next week. NAB also said that's looking likely. And they're not alone. Economists at Citibank, UBS and Bank of America all agree. And the market is now pricing a 65% chance of a hike. So all that mortgage debt could be about to get more expensive. There was a modest rise on the share market today with banks and miners leading the charge. And on the currency market, the Australian dollar is sitting above $1.20 New Zealand for the first time since 2013. And finally, Bunnings has once again topped the list of Australia's most trusted brands, according to Roy Morgan Research, ahead of Aldi and Kmart for the 8th quarter in a row. On the other end of the scale, though, Woolies remains in the sin bin with consumers, right there next to Optus.
Chris, thank you. Activewear giant Lululemon has been fined more than $700,000 for breaching spam laws. The chain was found to have sent more than 370,000 marketing emails that did not include an unsubscribe feature. The war in the Middle East is causing major disruptions to airlines at home and abroad. But if you're eyeing off air travel, when is the right time to book? Nine's money editor, Effie's Arhos, breaks it all down.
The war in the Middle East isn't scaring off Aussie travellers. Right now, Qantas says its European seats are 90% full, 15% higher than usual. At the same time, the price of jet fuel has surged up 150% in just a fortnight. So it's a perfect storm. Demand up, fuel up, airfares already taking off. The jet fuel spike is costing Qantas $15 million a day. It could add another 5% to airfares this week. So do you book now or wait?
If you can get a good deal now and you're going to Europe and you can get it through going through Asia or perhaps through the States, certainly book it now.
The Middle Eastern airlines have had to drop capacity during the conflict. But when it's over, seats will come back online quickly and airlines will be looking to fill them. There might be cheap flights for the Northern Hemisphere winter on the way. And what about domestic flights?
If people do stay and travel more domestically over the next few months because of this disruption in the Middle East, you can expect fares to go up to a certain extent.
Finally, your travel insurance. If you're travelling to a country not currently involved in the war, you're generally still covered for normal risks like medical emergencies or lost luggage. But if disruption is linked to the conflict, you're not likely covered. So keep a close eye on smarttraveller.gov.au.
Effie, thank you. Seaweed has long been known to offer health benefits, but may also protect the body against a common stomach bug. Researchers have found it could block the highly contagious norovirus in the intestine and in its early stages.
Under the sea, the potential of brown seaweed is being untapped.
It is a fascinating, fast-growing seaweed that is typically found in shallow coastal waters down to depths of approximately 20 metres.
Harvested from the waters of Tasmania and around Patagonia, Argentina, researchers at Queensland's Griffith University, with the help of biotechnology company Marinova, have discovered this seaweed could help treat a highly contagious infection.
It could help 7% of the world's population that are constantly infected with norovirus per year.
Norovirus is the world's leading cause of gastroenteritis, with symptoms including nausea, vomiting and diarrhoea. Currently, there's no approved vaccines or antiviral treatments.
There's hospital outbreaks, there's outbreaks in daycare centres.
Researchers tested fucoidins, a compound found in brown seaweed, to see how well they prevented norovirus particles from binding to saliva samples. This is what they found.
Fucoidins work to block the virus by forming a physical shield, making it more difficult for it to attach to cells in the intestines.
If the virus doesn't bind to the cells, it shouldn't cause the infection, and hence you shouldn't get sick.
The compound is already being used in dietary supplements. Now researchers are working on how this type of seaweed could be formulated to maximise its effect in the body.
It has almost no side effects, so it could be a really good opportunity to actually prevent this disease from spreading.
Josephine Shannon, 9 News.
Coming up in our news, Kate with the weather.
Thanks, Pete. We're expecting more sunshine tomorrow, but it won't last long, with a cool change expected to reach Sydney later in the day. Right now in the city, it is 25 degrees, a balmy 32 in our west. The forecast is next. It was a beautiful sunny day across the city, with northeasterly winds picking up a little this afternoon, gusts reaching 50 kilometres an hour at the airport and Kurnell. Temperatures were much warmer than average for March, the city reaching 28 degrees this afternoon. It was even hotter across our suburbs, 34 at Holsworthy and Penrith and 33 at Sydney Olympic Park in Bankstown. We saw northwesterly winds whip up across the Southern Alps this afternoon, gusts of 117 kilometres an hour recorded at Thredbo, the strongest winds there in months as a cold front approaches the state. Temperature-wise, Batemans Bay reached 26 degrees, 27 at Cooma. Tomorrow, an active monsoon will continue to deliver showers and storms to the tropics, while a front crossing the country's southeast will bring gusty winds and showery conditions to Victoria and Tasmania, as well as southern New South Wales later in the day. A warm and sunny day on the way for Brisbane, 34 degrees, sunshine for Canberra too, 26, a shower or two for Melbourne, 19, some cloud about in Adelaide, 23, and mostly sunny in Perth, 29. A trough looks set to enter our state late tonight, continuing to cross much of the state tomorrow through to early Friday morning, with a cool southerly change in its wake. A possible shower for Newcastle, 27 degrees. Showers possible for Wollongong too, 24, while a strong marine wind warning is in place for the Illawarra and Batemans Bay, a gale warning for Eden. Here in Sydney, we're expecting a mostly sunny morning with a slight chance of a shower in the evening after an overnight low of 21. The city is forecast to reach a top of 27, although the southerly winds could make it feel a little cooler. Partly cloudy across our suburbs with the chance of some late showers, most likely in our northwest. We're heading for a top of 26 or 27 degrees for most places, 25 in Bondi and in Cronulla. Taking a look ahead to Friday, a much cooler day on the way, 24 degrees with possible showers. Saturday is looking pretty cloudy at this stage, a top of 25, but Sunday, what a cracker, sunny and 28 degrees. However, we could see some showers return early next week. A cool and cloudy day for our west on Friday too. If we do get any rain, it should be light, less than a millimetre is forecast at this stage, a top of 23 degrees. Partly cloudy on Saturday and Sunday, but it should remain dry right through until Monday when the rain returns. But that's okay, because we'll be back at work, Pete.
Indeed. Kate, thank you so much. Ali is next with the current affair. That is 9 News for this Wednesday. I'm Peter Overton. I hope you have a good evening. From all of us, good night.